Let me start off by certainly acknowledging all of the individuals that you saw on the video because they represent thousands of individuals that came together in this city, in this region, and I owe a great deal of gratitude and respect for each and one of them. To Rich Trunka, the president of the AFL-CIO, to all of the labor leaders who are here, to working men and working women, let me just say, as the mayor of the city of Houston, let me welcome you to H-Town, to the city of Houston, the fourth largest city in the country, and as we say, soon to be the third. To all of Fred from the United Steelworkers and Claude Cummins, I can go on and on and on, Zeph Campo, to all of the local labor leaders, let me thank you. I came into office in January of 2016. I will quickly say to you that I would not be standing here as the mayor of this city without the support, the strong support of labor, working men and working women who knocked on doors from one end of this city to another. And I want to thank you. And so this afternoon, I come standing on their shoulders, and I appreciate their support then, appreciate their support now. 2017 for this city was a tough year. We say it was an incredible year. We started the 2017 hosting the Super Bowl, and then we hosted the NCAA Final Four. Then we hosted Harvey. One of the more rain that fell on this city than any other city in the country at any time. Then, of course, the Astros won the World Series, and now proud of every one of them. And now you have brought this conference to the city of Houston at the beginning of 2018. So let me thank you. Let me thank you for the service projects, and I know there were a number of projects that you did on today, possibly tomorrow. You went into one of the areas in the city of Houston, Pleasantville, and some other areas that were hard hit by Hurricane Harvey. And even though you don't see the debris on the streets, and that was gone several months ago, the damage is already done. And you have to literally go inside people's homes to see the damage. The sheetrock is gone, the insulation is gone, and I'm particularly sensitive to our seniors, people with special needs, people in low-income communities, and people, working men and working women, who have exhausted all of their resources and trying to get back on their feet. But we are Houston strong, and we are resilient, and we will bounce back. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very thankful that you have elected to come to Houston immediately after the hurricane. So thank you for being here. This is a special weekend. You are here as part of the Martin Luther King celebrations. I want to start off in the few minutes that I have reflecting on what Martin Luther King said back in 1965. When he gave a speech before the Illinois AFL-CIO, and he said, quote, "The two most dynamic movements that reshaped the nation during the past 3 decades are the labor and civil rights movements. Our combined strength," he said, "is potentially enormous. We have not used a fraction of it for our own good or for the needs of society as a whole. If we make the war on poverty a total war, if we seek higher standards for all workers for an enriched life, we have the ability to accomplish it, and our nation has the ability to provide it. If our two movements," he said, "unite their social pioneering initiatives, 30 years from now, people will look back on this day and honor those who had the vision to see the full possibilities of modern society and the courage to fight for their realization. On that day, the brotherhood of man, undergirded by economic security, will be a thrilling and creative reality." He said that in 1965. I would say to you that those statements ring true even today, because the battle has yet to be won, and there's still a lot of work to do. Just like Fred mentioned what's happening in D.C. and the comments that are coming, there's still a battle to pull people out of poverty and to pull them up. And there are still people who are insensitive and don't understand that we are all in this together. And so we are constantly reminded that we still have a lot of work to do. And when the labor movement is combined with the civil rights movement, the movement for humanity, women's rights, people who are seeking equality all over the board, there is so much potential that's there. And I know that's the case because I would not be standing before you today. When I came into as mayor, I said I did not want to govern a city of have and have not. I didn't want to be the mayor of a city where you go to one community and it's a community of opportunity, and you go to another community and they've been overlooked and ignored for decades. I grew up in one of those communities. I still happen to live in the same community in which I was born and reared. And so at the end of the day, when I go home and part of the mayor's detail, I will return back to the same neighborhood in which I was born and reared. It is not a high-powered community, and it probably, if I was using the words of the president, he probably would say it's a community. But I want you to know that one of the kids from that community is now the mayor of the city of Houston. And my mom and dad would probably take offense to what he said as well, because neither one of them graduated from high school, but they were hard workers. A dad that worked at the Continental M Square as a painter for 30 years, and on the weekends, loaded his boys up in the back of a pickup truck and cut other people's yards. Died when I was 13 because he didn't have health insurance, no Blue Cross or Blue Shield for the Turner household. And after he died when I was 13, it was my mom, who didn't graduate from high school, who never learned how to drive, who took the bus, a maid at the old Rice Hotel not too far from here, who raised 9 kids literally by herself. And let me tell you, there were times when her kids asked her for certain things, and she would say, "Son, can't do it, don't have it." But we didn't understand at the time. But she would always come back and say to all of us, "Tomorrow, Sylvester, will be better than today. Just keep working hard, stay focused, don't give up. Tomorrow will be better than today." And when I got ready to go to law school, it wasn't some lawyer that signed the loan papers. It wasn't some engineer that sent that letter of reference and signed those papers. It was that maid who never learned how to drive, who never graduated from high school, who believed in paying her bills on time, who prayed on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was this woman from that community that said, "If God be with you, Sylvester, you will be all right." And so from that community, I come before you as the mayor of the 4th largest city in the United States of America. And I thank working men and working women for making it possible. So now that I'm mayor, I don't want to be the mayor of a divided community. We need more jobs. It was the union that elevated us to another level. It was working men and working women that put us on another plane, that gave us better housing and opportunity for a better education. And if Martin Luther King could be here this afternoon, he would tell you that when they put him in jail in Birmingham, it was labor that paid $165,000 and bailed him out. It was labor that participated in those sit-ins. And Martin Luther King would tell you, what does it matter to be integrated and be able to sit at the lunch counter if you can't afford the hamburger, the fries, and the Coke to go along with it? Freedom without economic security is not freedom at all. And so labor and civil rights go hand in hand. Lastly, and I'm going to go to my seat, we remember Martin Luther King because when he went to Memphis, he went there for sanitation workers who were denied just basic treatment. He went there fighting for them. In fact, it was 20 sewer workers that really started it in January 1968. And then there were 2 other sanitation garbage workers that were killed when their equipment malfunctioned. And then when they were asking for better treatment, the mayor of Memphis said no. When they didn't have pensions or vacations, places to shower, the mayor said no. And when they had to carry those garbage bags that were leaking and maggots were falling on their backs, and they asked for better treatment, the mayor said no. And then the papers joined with the mayor, and city council joined with them. But they called for a minister and asked him to come from Atlanta to stand with them in their struggle. And he showed up in March and he spoke. And then he came back on April the 3rd. 10,000 people were standing out in front of him. And he came there for those working men and women who deserve to be respected and treated like anybody else. Now, the road was not always easy for him because on his way from Atlanta, they told him that a bomb had been planted on that plane. But you know, he didn't stop and he didn't turn back. He came to Atlanta anyway. And on April 3rd, when he stood up, I want you to know he didn't just stand up for those sanitation workers. He stood up for each and every one of us. And because he stood up, I am the mayor of the city of Houston. And now, my brothers and sisters, it's our turn. It's our time. Trump, no. Labor, yes. And the battle is not over until we reclaim the dream.